Hello there, everyone. So good to be here with you tonight on this Friday night. I'm excited about our video here tonight. I'm excited about who I'm with, the wonderful brother Shawn Mayo, who is the director of Hyphen and the director of our outreach teams and things like that here at the church. He's a great asset, not only to the church, but a very close friend of mine. I love him and appreciate him. Excited about all that God is doing in his life and through his ministry. So I want to talk to him a little bit tonight because he is the Hyphen director. He's the leader over the Hyphen department. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Hyphen. Now, I know this is mostly for the youth group of the church, and I think that's why this is a good, important video, because you're not going to be youth forever. You're eventually going to move on, not only in age, but into the next stages that God has for you. So obviously when you're in this church, that's going to mean going from the youth group into Hyphen. So Brother Shawn, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what Hyphen is, why it's important to you, what it means to you, what it's all about for you.
Yeah, so for me, and I agree with a lot of the things that have come out of what Hyphen was, and I guess I'll just start there. After the youth group, there was a long time in all church organization that there was really nothing after it. You got out of youth when you were 18, 19 years old, and that was it. And there were praying people that realized and understood that there was, a gap there, that people kind of just got out of youth as an adult, and they were just kind of thrown into the world, and they were still trying to find themselves and still trying to figure out what to do. And a lot of them hadn't started their ministry yet, and I think there was even seeing where people would get out of youth and then they would start kind of falling away and trailing away from the church. So they recognized that and created this group called Hyphen. And Hyphen is kind of big emphasis on the hyphen, the dash, between the time that you get out of youth and the time that you're in your 30s and you have an established career and all that stuff. It's really there to help make sure that everybody that gets out of youth really has that little bit of extra direction while they're finding themselves as an adult, a little extra direction while they're finding themselves in their ministry. There's some that find themselves in ministry and have a direction, when they're 16, 17, but a lot of people don't normally start. Even in biblical times, most people didn't start their ministry until they were 25 or 30 years old. That's usually when you were considered adult and started that. So that's really the big importance, and that really what Hyphen is, a fellowship group of those between the ages of 19 and 30. Most people usually consider it the people that are college and career, usually single. Here at our church, we like to incorporate everybody between the ages of 19 and 30 because we still feel that even if you're married, you still have to find your way and find your ministry, and even doubly so because now you have a spouse with you, and you're trying to two as one, trying to figure out what ministries you both have and walk into that. And so it's a good opportunity. Brother Chris had it before I did, and he did a fantastic job. And he aged out, if you will. Him and his wife are both over 30 now. Don't tell him I told you that. But now I'm 30. My wife is under 30, so we've got a few more years, and I'm excited for what God has in store for Hyphen. So, what is Hyphen? It's a way and a time to help guide people out of youth group into their career, their ministry.
And it is great. I remember, when I was in youth group and going out of youth group, we didn't have what we call Hyphen. There was no other transitional thing after youth. It really was just you're in youth class every Wednesday, you're connected with the youth group. And then especially if you were older than your friends in the youth group, all of a sudden, boom, you're gone. You don't have any connection with people. You're just kind of out there where all the adults are. Yeah. And now this, with Hyphen, of course, they still are in the regular services, but the Hyphen get together, and it's a group of people that are in the same age bracket, where really It is a blessing, and so it can be strange, transitioning out of youth. What is some advice that you would have for maybe an 18-year-old that's about to turn 19? Some advice on transitioning, changing their mindset from coming out of the youth group into the Hyphen.
Yeah, so I mean, my biggest advice, I would say, is stay connected. Things change. You may not be able to come to the back, and fellowship with the youth group, but there's still ways that you can get together. Most youth, at least that I know, won't just cut you off because you're 19 years old. You can still go to restaurants and stuff like that and hang out, but also start getting connected with those that are in the Hyphen age, those that are a little older to you. And one of the great things that we do here is when you turn 18, every quarter you get to go to Hyphen once every quarter, and that really helps for that whole year to kind of get you connected with those people that you're going to be spending a lot more time with. Usually we do Hyphen once a month on Fridays, but we have a fairly active text group, and we talk all the time, and I try to call some of the members of Hyphen when I can, and so it's you can stay involved. But the big thing is don't get depressed because you're not back here on as a youth on whatever day your church has youth service. For here it's Wednesdays. Be excited, stay connected, get involved, and really seek the face of God. One of the things that to me that blessed me is I remember the first time that we started Hyphen here at our church, and we were doing it at Brother Chris's house, and we started doing a Bible study on prayer, and I had really not spent a lot of time in prayer. I'd read my Bible front and back. I don't even know how many times I've read the Bible all the way through, and I was really passionate about reading the Bible, but I would never pray. I mean, only maybe on Sundays and whenever I felt the conviction come on me would be when I pray. But Brother Chris really put out a good Bible study on prayer. And he told us all that were in the Hyphen at the time, make a commitment to pray every day. Started out 15 minutes and increase it from there. And I did exactly that. I started it out at 15 minutes, and I right now I do my best and try to get about consistently 30 minutes every day, and usually try to go a little bit further on my days off. But I set up a regular time of spending time with God, and that has just turned my entire life around. I am eternally grateful for God and for what God laid on his heart for Brother Chris to talk about, and that literally changed my life, and that came from just fellowshipping together with Hyphen. We do just about a 30-minute Bible study or 15 to 30-minute Bible study. It's not long, and then we just spend some time in fellowship. But the things that I've gained from being in Hyphen have been phenomenal. And the Hyphen group that we have, you could talk to any one of them. Most of the time that we get done with the Bible study, no matter how long it is, we're in tears, we're crying, we're thanking God for what he's done, and it's just something that will help you grow and help you find yourself in your ministry.
One thing I definitely love about the way you do Hyphen still is, so obviously they meet in home, in either their home, Brother and Sister Mayo's home, or maybe somebody else volunteers sometimes at the church. But mostly it's a close home type environment. And one thing that they do is every month somebody different teaches. And I think, even with the youth, we try to have a cool platform and things like that, but it can be nerve-wracking to get up on a platform and to teach a Bible study. One thing I love about the Hyphen is that you're just kind of in this welcoming, loving environment.
Absolutely.
Where you can talk about God for a little while. And it really is so great. It's such a great platform as far as learning how to teach Bible studies, learning how to connect with each other. Yeah. So it is great. What would you say that say the youth age people, those between 12 and 18, can do now to kind of prepare themselves for the hyphen years, and it really, even ministerial, any kind of, what would you say to that, someone to not just wait and be like, oh, now I'm in hyphen, now I have to change it. What can we do? What can our young people do to prepare for that next step in their walk with God, in their relationship with the church, and their ministry? What's something that people can do now to prepare?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the best thing that you can do now is really just work on your relationship with God. I mean, you start working on your relationship with God, and God will give you the direction that you need. For some practical advice, really get your mind focused on what you want to do. What do you want to be? Do you want to be a minister? Do you want to, have some kind of secular vocation? Have you prayed about it? What's your path? What are you thinking about moving forward? And when you get that kind of idea, that will help you kind of not be so overwhelmed when you get out of youth. Youth is, you can feel comfortable, right? I'm in the same place that I've been in since I've been about 12 or 13 years old. I've got a youth pastor that's shepherding over me. I've got a pastor that's shepherding over me. I've got parents that are shepherding over me. So you have a lot of protection there. You have a lot of, you can do it. It'll be okay. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to encourage you. You have a lot of encouragement, and you can find that there can be almost a void there when you lose that aspect of having that youth pastor over you. Now your youth pastor is not going to go away, right? You can be able to talk to him and stuff like that, but from yourself, it definitely feels different when I'm like, oh, I can't go back there now. Something I've been so used to for many of the remembering years of your life. So it's okay to change. Realize that, recognize that, and accept that things are going to change and that life is going to be different. To sum it up, what can you do to prepare for hyphen? Pray, think about your future, and get to know people that are older than you. Get to know people that are only a few years into hyphen. Kind of get to know what it is. We all still try to hang out. We do every once in a while participate in the youth stuff. For our church, we every once in a while we'll do youth versus hyphen, and that's a great way to stay connected. Because we're still young enough to know what it feels like to be young. We're still young enough to know what it feels like to be in youth, and know what it feels like to go through high school, and to try to find yourself and figure out who you are. So we're still able to kind of relate in a way, and so just understand that change is going to happen, and really focus on God and what He has for you to do.
Yeah, absolutely, very good. I mean, I think as long as he said, as long as you're praying, if your relationship with God is where it should be, then the next steps never have to be some big scary thing. God prepares, and God leads and directs and all of those things. So, and that's why with youth, we really try to use the youth group in anywhere we can. We have youth services. I don't care if you like to sing or you think your ministry is sing. If you can sing, come sing. If you can play an instrument, come play an instrument. If you're interested, we'll let you teach. Because we really want to be able to explore where you want to take your next step. Because obviously, God calls us, and we know that calling. But that might not come right away. It might not come, in the first altar call you get into. So it's important to use your gifts and your abilities to work for God. And I think that's why we really try to do that in the youth group, because it makes transitioning into being used, or, into the next step, not such a difficult thing. But unfortunately, there are a lot of young people that, they, as youth, especially if their parents are in church, they kind of just say, I just want to live my life. I don't want to give over right now. I know I should, but I'm not ready to do that. What would you say to the young person that's waiting until their hyphen years, waiting till they get out of high school, or even get out of college maybe? They're waiting until some other point to get their relationship with God right.
I would say that there is nothing that I have found that's been greater, more peaceful, and has brought me more joy than doing what God's called me to do. Amen. And, if you want an example, I waited. I didn't get too involved. I told my pastor when I was growing up that, I felt like I needed to be I felt like I was called into the ministry, and you know, his response was really, hey, you know, okay, that's good. You know, you should be thinking about going to Bible colleges, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to go to Bible college. I didn't, you know, I had my mind set on being an engineer. I really, you know, enjoyed that. That's what I wanted to do, and so I kind of just let it sit, let it slide for a while. But you know, and remember that this life is so much more than your ministry. If you're waiting to really get a good relationship with God and to your hyphen, you're not promised hyphen. You know, that's the big thing. And there are the second and maybe even the most important thing is that you've got people around you that need you now. Right. That God has put in your life for you to be a light and example. I know Brother Chris has talked about it, and I've talked about it. There are times where it just pains me to think about all the bad examples that I gave when I was younger. Yeah. All the people that I was around that still aren't where they need to be, and to think and to know that I could have been the person that could have helped them. Obviously, it wouldn't just be me, it would be God working through me, but I could have been obedient to what God wanted me to do and to be the person He wanted me to be. You know, we're in this, you know, for our salvation, but we're also in it for souls. Yes. We're in it for people to be saved and to get where they need to be with God. And that starts at every age. You know, you look at Jeremiah, you look at Samuel, you look at most people in David. Many people in the Bible started out in their ministry when they were young. Yeah. And, you know, what losses would have been, what issues would have proceeded if they didn't start until they were 20 and 25 or 30, you know, I know you hear it so many times, and I know I've heard it so many times growing up, and I know my parents have heard it so many times when they were growing up, but God is coming back, and He's coming sooner than we think, and He's coming sooner than later. And I think, you know, what we're going through right now with this pandemic is a key thing that's really going to show and identify that for us, and showing that right now. So don't really have time to wait. You know, you might think it's okay to have hyphen, but, you know, wait till hyphen, but, you know, you need to start now. Am I saying stress out because you don't know where God wants you to be? No. Develop your relationship with God. Start praying. Start reading your word. Start fasting. You know, do what those are older than you, those that you look up to as far as a spiritual leader, are doing. You know, try to get there and follow their example, and follow the example of Jesus. You know, He fasted, He prayed, He looked for guidance and understanding and direction. You know, we're supposed to be followers of Christ, and to follow somebody, we have to travel in their footsteps, do what they did. So, yeah, don't wait. Please don't wait.
So that's awesome. So yeah, don't wait. You know, it seems to be the theme of this week is you know, God's risen. He's there for those who have strayed, who are learning the hard way. But you don't have to wait. You don't have to be at that place. You don't have to be there. Wherever you are right here, right now, you can get close to God. You can get right with God. You can get where God wants you to be. So that's awesome. I appreciate Brother Shawn Mayo being with us here tonight. I love the hyphen and all that they're doing. All right. Well, we love you all. We've talked long enough. I'm excited about what God is doing. Make sure you, if you are not able to be here Sunday, check out the live stream. But if you can, be here Sunday at 11 a.m. doing the outside service once again. We had a great time last Sunday, and we're going to have another great time, I'm sure. So be here if you can. Hallelujah. And keep checking out the videos and subscribing if you haven't already. Love you all. I hope these videos are a blessing to you. We will see you soon.
God bless.
Love you. Bye.